Dan Pitcher's name wasn't the flashiest on the Browns interview list, but it might be the most revealing. His pre-existing relationship with GM Andrew Berry, forged during Joe Burrow's rise in Cincinnati, is a signal flare. The Browns aren't just hiring for resumes, they're building alignment. And Pitcher's reputation for quarterback calibration makes him a likely cornerstone.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
The presence of Todd Monken, who was protected by John Harbaugh at the cost of his own job, adds emotional weight. These aren't just candidates, they're collaborators. Even the inclusion of Jim Schwartz and Tommy Rees points to a meticulous chemistry test underway inside Team HQ. Every interview reflects a singular lens. SHEDEUR Sanders. This isn't about identifying the best coach available. It's about engineering a collective brain trust that speaks his football language. In Sanders, the Browns see a methodical quarterback with a high processing ceiling, and they're constructing a lab around him. If executed right, this approach doesn't just give Cleveland a new quarterback. It gives them an entire infrastructure capable of sustaining relevance for a decade. The Cleveland Browns just flipped the script on everything you thought you knew about them. This isn't just a coaching search. It's a full-blown organizational metamorphosis, with a single name quietly driving the entire operation. SHEDEUR Sanders. Yes, that's SHEDEUR. The Browns aren't just interested in drafting him. They're building the entire ecosystem before his name is even called. 5 coaching interviews, each candidate handpicked with one specific mission: create the perfect environment for an elite, cerebral quarterback to thrive. That's not coincidence. That's orchestration. And for a franchise that spent years living on the edge of chaos, this is as shocking as it gets. Let's talk about the lineup. Dan Pitcher, Todd Monken, Tommy Rees, Jim Schwartz, and Aiden Dunn. Not exactly the most headline-hungry group of names, but that's exactly the point. Every one of them brings a skill set that serves a single vision: quarterback development, offensive flexibility, system alignment, and in Schwartz's case, defensive stability. Start with Dan Pitcher. His resume isn't flashy, but his work speaks volumes. He was a key figure in Joe Burrow's early NFL development with the Bengals, a division rival no less. That detail matters. Burrow didn't just walk into the league and dominate. He was developed, coached, supported, and Pitcher was there for that. Now he's on Cleveland's radar, and that's no accident. General Manager Andrew Berry already knows him, trusts him, and understands what he brings. There's history there. And in the NFL, history often turns into chemistry. Bringing in Pitcher isn't about throwing him into a chaotic rebuild. It's about giving him a young, intelligent quarterback like SHEDEUR Sanders and replicating a proven formula. Development first, scheme aligned, mentally demanding. Then there's Todd Monken. His candidacy sends a completely different but equally powerful message. Monen's coaching stock hit new heights in Baltimore, especially after he restructured the offense to keep it alive after Lamar Jackson went down. Most coordinators fall apart when they lose a star quarterback. Monken kept it running. And the real kicker? John Harbaugh was fired because he refused to fire Monken. That's how much Harbaugh believed in his offensive mind. And that says everything. If you're Cleveland and you're looking to draft a high IQ quarterback with a clean, polished style, you want someone who can adapt quickly. Build around the QB instead of forcing a scheme onto him. That's Monken. That's why the Browns are interested. And here's where things get even more intriguing. With Harbaugh now out of Baltimore, the possibility of him reuniting with Monken in Cleveland isn't just wild speculation. It's a real, seismic possibility. Harbaugh has ties to the area. He's got the resume. And most importantly, he brings immediate credibility. If the Browns want to show they're serious about a new era, nothing says it louder than a Harbaugh-led regime. But the Browns aren't only thinking about the offense. They're thinking about the entire structure around a rookie quarterback. That's where Jim Schwartz comes in. They're not replacing him. They're locking him in. Schwartz led one of the top defenses in the league last season. And when you're planning to drop a rookie into the deep end of the AFC North, having a defense that can take the pressure off is huge. It's not just a luxury, it's a necessity. Keep games close. Force turnovers. Let the offense grow without needing to put up 30 points a game. That's how you protect your investment. It's also how you give a young quarterback the breathing room to develop without being thrown to the wolves. That's been the Browns' problem for years. Too much weight on rookie shoulders, too little support around them. But now, Schwartz gives them that insurance policy, a built-in safety net. And then there's Tommy Rees. On paper, it might look confusing. He didn't exactly light things up as interim OC last year. The offense was stale. The numbers were bad. But the Browns don't care about the surface. They're looking deeper. Rees comes from Nick Saban's coaching pipeline, Alabama's machine of quarterback preparation. That's the part that matters here. Because at Alabama, it's not about gimmicks or trick plays. It's about structure, rigor, pro-style systems, teaching quarterbacks how to read, react, and lead. That's the exact kind of foundation the Browns want in place if they land SHEDEUR. Someone who understands the rhythm of a quarterback room. Someone who knows how to build a system for long-term growth, even if short-term stats don't look pretty. And even the lesser-known name on the list, Aiden Dunn, is part of the puzzle. He might not get the job, but the fact that he got the interview says a lot. The Browns are turning over every stone. No token interviews. No filler. Just a deep, targeted evaluation process where every candidate is vetted not for popularity, but for alignment. And the message couldn't be louder. This isn't about patching holes. This is about building a new foundation. For years, the Browns have been defined by reaction. Draft a quarterback, fire a coach, panic when it doesn't work, repeat. It's a blueprint for dysfunction. But this time, they're flipping it. They're building the infrastructure first. The coaching staff, the system, the defense, the development model. Then comes the quarterback. And everything about this plan screams SHEDEUR Sanders. He's not a run-first athlete who needs backyard football to thrive. He's a precise passer. He processes the field like a veteran. And he needs a system that doesn't just allow him to grow, but expects it. That's what this coaching search is about. Building a staff that understands how to bring a quarterback like SHEDEUR into the league without ruining him. And let's be honest, this kind of thinking is rare in Cleveland. They've chased shiny object before. They've made splashy hires. But they've never looked this deliberate, this forward-thinking, this serious. Even if they don't get SHEDEUR, this process is still the smartest thing they've done in years. Because they're creating an environment where any quarterback can succeed. Not just one with elite traits. Not just one with flash. But one who's coached, supported, and protected from day one. That's what the best teams do. That's how you build a program. And if the Browns do land SHEDEUR, the pieces are already in place. No scramble to find the right OC. No awkward power struggles between front office and coaching staff. No throwing a rookie to the wolves while the defense bleeds points every Sunday. It'll be different. Because they built it that way. So here we are, 5 interviews. 5 coaches. All with purpose. All pointing toward one of the boldest quarterback plans in the NFL. The AFC North is shifting. The Ravens are scrambling. The Steelers are lost at quarterback. The Bengals are one injury away from irrelevance. The Browns? They're finally getting organized. And that should scare a lot of people. Because if this plan works, if the coaching staff gels, if the defense holds, and if SHEDEUR Sanders becomes the next great quarterback in this league, it's not just a win for Cleveland. It's a full-blown rebrand. From chaos to contender. From here we go again to we're built for this. Let us know what you think. Is this finally the moment the Browns get it right? Are they building a winning culture or setting up for another collapse? Drop a comment. Hit that like button if you're tired of Cleveland being the punchline, and subscribe for more stories where football gets messy, bold, and just a little bit wild. Because whatever happens next in Cleveland, it's going to be one for the history books. The Cleveland Browns aren't just tinkering at the edges of their organization anymore. They're rewriting the formula from the inside out. And if you're paying attention, you can see the entire operation circling around one pivotal moment on the horizon: drafting SHEDEUR Sanders. This isn't a hunch. It's not wishful thinking. It's a strategic, coordinated, and frankly stunning move from a franchise that has spent the better part of 2 decades improvising its way through quarterback disasters. Let's be honest, this is Cleveland we're talking about. The team that's had 35 quarterbacks since 1999. 35. The franchise where long-term plans went to die, where hot coaching hires fizzled, and where rookie quarterbacks were either thrown to the wolves or coached by people with zero idea how to develop them. The place where careers got lost in translation between regimes, where defensive and offensive systems clashed, and where no one ever seemed to be on the same page. But now, it's different. Because this time, the Browns aren't chasing a star quarterback after the fact. They're designing a system before they draft him. They're building the foundation brick by brick. Coaching staff, offensive philosophy, development infrastructure, defensive continuity, all laid out in advance. That doesn't just change the math. It changes the entire culture. Start with how quietly coordinated the whole process has been. Dan Pitcher's name didn't just show up out of nowhere. He's not a flashy hire. He's not a household name. But he is someone with a very specific resume: quarterback development at the highest level. His fingerprints are all over Joe Burrow's early growth in Cincinnati, which included not just talent maximization, but adapting to NFL speed, reading complex defenses, and understanding the timing and rhythm of elite quarterbacking. That's not accidental. That's design. Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, knows Pitcher personally. They've worked together before. Which means if Pitcher walks into Cleveland as a head coach, he's not just an X's and O's guy. He's someone Berry trusts to help shape the most important position on the field. And who's the Browns' top target for that position? You guessed it. SHEDEUR Sanders. There's no smoke and mirrors here. You don't interview multiple QB-centric coaches if you're planning to stick with Deshaun Watson. You don't retain your elite defensive coordinator to protect a rookie if you're trying to win now with a veteran. This isn't a we'll figure it out later setup. This is a premeditated plan with SHEDEUR's name practically written into the blueprint. But if Pitcher brings the quarterback development, Todd Monken brings the offensive dynamism. His value skyrocketed in Baltimore, especially once Lamar Jackson went down. That could have tanked their entire season, but Monken kept the offense functional. Not perfect, but adaptable. And that word, adaptable, is exactly what you want when building an offense around a new quarterback. You don't want a rigid scheme. You don't want a coordinator who forces players into a system that doesn't fit them. You want someone who watches tape, studies tendencies, and builds game plans around strengths. Monken does that. He did it in Baltimore. He adjusted on the fly. And John Harbaugh believed in him so much he refused to fire him, costing himself his job. Let that sink in. Harbaugh, a Super Bowl winning coach, would rather walk than fire Monken. That's not just loyalty. That's respect for football IQ. And with Harbaugh now out in Baltimore, he's not off the table either. If Monken ends up in Cleveland, Harbaugh could follow. And that would be the most Cleveland turns the corner moment in franchise history. A Ravens legend returning home to coach the Browns. A full circle moment. And a complete cultural reboot. Then there's Tommy Rees. On paper, he's a question mark. Interim OC in 2024. Not a lot of success. But again, context matters. He walked into a mess. The offense was broken. Watson was declining. And there was no real identity. You don't judge a coach based on how he managed a burning ship. You judge him by what he knows. And what Rees knows comes straight out of Alabama's NFL quarterback factory. Saban didn't hire him to babysit quarterbacks. He hired him to prepare them for Sundays. That background? It matters. Because it shows the Browns are focused on development, not just optics. They don't care how many points Rees put up with a broken offense. They care that he knows how to teach. Meanwhile, Jim Schwartz is the anchor in all this. While the offense rebuilds, the defense stays elite. Schwartz turned that unit into a top-tier nightmare in 2024. And now he's being retained. No turnover. No confusion. Just consistency. And when you're onboarding a rookie quarterback, that kind of stability is gold. Defense keeps games close. Defense takes pressure off the offense. Defense lets a rookie learn without being buried under the weight of must-win drives every week. Schwartz's presence is the guarantee that the Browns won't crumble if the offense needs time. And even Aiden Dunn, an outside name most fans haven't heard, is a signal of how deep and deliberate this search is. His interview wasn't for headlines. It was for evaluation, thoroughness. The Browns aren't just narrowing the list to popular choices. They're running every candidate through the same lens. Does this person fit the quarterback incubator model? That's the standard now. And yes, quarterback incubator might sound like a buzzword, but it's the best way to describe what Cleveland is building. This isn't just a coaching search. It's an environmental overhaul, a complete restructuring around the needs of a young, cerebral quarterback. Because SHEDEUR Sanders isn't just a prospect. He's a project. One with massive potential, but also one who needs the right support system to thrive. He's not built for a broken team. He's built for a team with vision, with structure, with purpose. He needs coaches who understand how to grow a quarterback over time, who don't panic after a bad start, who don't rip up the playbook every offseason, who actually believe in a long-term plan. For the first time in years, the Browns look like that team. And that should scare the rest of the division. The Ravens are melting down, the Steelers are stuck in quarterback limbo, and the Bengals live and die by Joe Burrow's health. Cleveland? They're moving quietly, strategically, and for once, ahead of the curve. If this plan works, they're not just drafting SHEDEUR. They're setting him up to succeed in year one, with a tailored offense, with an elite defense, with coaching unity, and with an organization that finally learned how to think past one season. But if it fails, if the wrong coach gets hired, if SHEDEUR ends up elsewhere, if the plan collapses, it'll hurt. Bad. Because this isn't just a swing, it's the most carefully coordinated move this franchise has made in years. If it doesn't land, it'll go down as yet another missed opportunity in a city that's had more than its share. But right now, there's something different in the air. No leaks, no drama, no last-second hires. Just a deliberate, quarterback-first rebuild happening in real time. The Cleveland Browns are standing at the edge of something they've never had before: clarity. Not hype, not chaos, not another round of trust the process while trotting out a broken offense behind a quarterback destined to be replaced in 2 seasons. No, this time, the Browns are playing a long game. And it all leads to one name: SHEDEUR Sanders. Everything they're doing right now, every interview, every hire, every strategic holdover, is about setting up a quarterback-friendly environment before the quarterback is even in the building. That alone should tell you how serious this franchise has become. Because for most of their recent history, the Browns were reactionary. Draft the QB, then scramble to build a team around him. Usually too late, usually badly. But now, they're flipping the entire model on its head. Start with the coaching carousel they've constructed. It isn't random. It isn't about names. It's about fit, about philosophy. And every candidate they've brought in shares one common thread: quarterback development, offensive flexibility, or system stability. Dan Pitcher is the prototype of what a modern QB development coach looks like. He was part of Joe Burrow's foundational NFL years, guiding him through the learning curve of professional defenses and offensive complexity. Pitcher understands how to mold a highly intelligent, highly technical quarterback into an NFL star. And the fact that Andrew Berry, the Browns GM, already has a relationship with Pitcher only adds fuel to the idea that this is about alignment. No surprises, no power struggles, just a GM and head coach on the same page, designing the future. And that future clearly includes a quarterback like SHEDEUR Sanders. High IQ, pocket presence, timing-based accuracy, the kind of player you want to teach, not break. Now, Todd Monen's inclusion might seem like a curveball until you look closer. The man kept the Ravens' offense alive after Lamar Jackson went down. That's adaptability most teams dream about. And it wasn't just a stopgap job. His schematic adjustments kept Baltimore functional when other teams would have collapsed. That alone makes him a strong candidate. But then you hear that John Harbaugh was fired from Baltimore because he refused to let Monin go. That changes everything. That tells you Monin isn't just competent, he's respected, trusted, maybe even essential to the right system. So when the Browns bring him in for serious consideration, it shows they're not just browsing, they're thinking systemically. And don't think for a second that Harbaugh isn't also on their radar. With his long-standing connection to the area and now his sudden availability, the potential of a Harbaugh-Monin reunion in Cleveland isn't some pipe dream. It's a real possibility. And if that happens, Cleveland becomes a completely different animal overnight. Leadership, experience, gravitas, a complete image makeover. Now, Tommy Rees doesn't come with that level of firepower. His run as the Browns' interim OC in 2024 was forgettable. The offense underwhelmed. The schemes were stale. But the Browns see something more important than last season's scoreboard. They see his background. Rees learned under Nick Saban at Alabama. And in that system, it's not about flashy play calls. It's about preparing quarterbacks for the league. Mental processing, consistency, pro-style reads. That kind of experience matters, especially if you're planning to develop someone like SHEDEUR Sanders from the ground up. Rees isn't here because of 2024. He's here because of what he knows and how he fits into a larger developmental machine. Jim Schwartz, meanwhile, is the stabilizer. The Browns didn't need to look elsewhere for defense. They've already got a top-tier unit that knows its identity, and that's staying intact. Schwartz remaining in place sends a clear message. While the offense undergoes construction, the defense holds a line. That continuity gives the Browns a chance to compete while growing a rookie quarterback. It also creates something the Browns haven't had in decades, a real margin for error. If SHEDEUR struggles early, if the offense stumbles, the defense won't. That breathing room is priceless for a young quarterback. And it's yet another reason this whole process feels different. Smart even. And then there's Aiden Dunn. No name recognition. No media frenzy. But that's kind of the point. The Browns are talking to everyone who fits the profile, not just the popular picks. Dunn might not get the job, but his interview means something. It proves this isn't a rushed decision. Every angle is being explored. Every hire will be part of a singular vision, quarterback-first football. And again, that vision leads back to SHEDEUR Sanders. The Browns aren't just open to the idea of drafting him. They're setting the table for it. They're building a staff around his skill set. They're prioritizing communication, structure, and football intelligence, because that's who SHEDEUR is. He's not raw athlete who needs to be reined in. He's a polished, disciplined quarterback who thrives when the game is smart, the coaching is sharp, and the environment is steady. That's what Cleveland is finally trying to become. And it couldn't come at a better time. The AFC North is wobbling. Baltimore is imploding. Pittsburgh is a mystery at quarterback. Cincinnati is still talented, but tied to Burrow's health like an anchor. This isn't just a good time for a rebuild, it's a window. If Cleveland nails this transition, they don't just turn the page. They take control. But it all hinges on execution. The right hire, the right pick, the right system. If they get it wrong, if they fall back into old habits, it won't just be disappointing. It'll confirm every fear fans have ever had about this team. But if they get it right, then this is the moment the Cleveland Browns stopped surviving and started building. And that's why this story matters. Because it's not just about who they hire or who they draft. It's about whether a historically dysfunctional franchise can finally stop being the punchline. Let us know if you think Cleveland's finally cracked the code. Is this the setup for success, or is it another great plan doomed by execution? Drop a comment. Hit that like button if you're watching this drama unfold with disbelief, and subscribe for more no-filter takes on the league's boldest moves. Because whatever the Browns do next, you'll want a front row seat.